This is Viterbi Voices, your chance to hear stories about research, classes, student life, and more.
Directly from our students, faculty, and other members of our engineering community. All right here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Welcome back into Viterbi Voices. As usual, I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma, Director of Undergraduate Admission at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And my name is Audrey Roberts. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering here at USC.
And joining us, who brings us a whole new episode, is Natalie. You want to introduce yourself, Natalie?
Yes, hello everyone. My name's Natalie. I'm a second year student studying civil engineering, hometown San Diego, but currently in LA.
All right, very cool. So Natalie, tell us all about this episode you're bringing to us today.
Yeah, for sure. So this is about the Baum Maker Space. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it is a place for all of the Viterbi design teams to go and create. It's located in the engineering library on the ground floor. And I believe it's like 10,000 square feet, very large in comparison to the previous Fab Lab, which was like, I believe like 300 or something like that around there, very tiny. But it's something I think all engineering students are really excited about.
Absolutely. This is really cool. This is a huge new construction effort that opened while we've all been away, which is kind of a weird part about it. It was scheduled to open basically last spring. And it brings together a number of different teams from their own. They had individual spaces, right? So it's not really a replacement of Fab Lab. It's a replacement of pulling all these people from different areas into one huge space. And it's interesting you say it's in the Science and Engineering Library. I think it replaced the Science and Engineering, what you would think of the Science and Engineering Library, that building, that's gone. Like that's just not there anymore because now this is there, right?
Actually, they kept the library portion of it on the top floor. So there's
above it.
Yeah, it's
in that
above
building.
it.
Got it. Okay, cool. Good stuff. Because it cleared out that whole first floor, outdoor space, indoor space. Really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I asked them about that. They said there's still study rooms for everyone, and you can honestly just go and study in the makerspace itself. But I don't know if you'd want to do that with like metal welding and wood cutting going on, but you could try.
Have either of you been inside of it yet?
No, I think it's, my understanding is it's not open to students, but they had like a virtual ribbon cutting, I know, a few weeks ago. So I saw the videos from that and it looked super cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm on the steel bridge design team, and we're actually moving all of our supplies from Cap Basement over to the Makerspace in about a week. So I'll get to see it soon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Take lots of pictures and videos. Well, let's get out of the way and get into this discussion all about the brand new Baum Maker Space.
Hello, today we're discussing the Baum Maker Space, which is a new lab design that was added to USC in the engineering library. And we are joined by previous Vice Dean of Administration, Linda Rock, Director of the Makerspace, Alan Weber, and Vice Dean for Academic Programs, Eric Johnson. And well, my name is Natalie. I did one previous podcast before. I'm currently a civil engineering student, second year. And now I want to pass it off to you guys and go ahead and do introduction. How long have you guys been working at USC and what kind of your job is?
I'll go first because I'm the easiest. I worked at USC for 25 years, the last 15 of them as the Vice Dean for Administration. Prior to that, I was the HR Director. I just recently retired January 31st, so fortunately got to finish the Baum Maker Space project, and I'm so excited that the students will soon, at least some students will soon be able to use the facility. I'll hand off to Alan.
Hi, my name is Alan Weber. I've been at USC for over 30 years, most of it as mainly a staff engineer and instructor in the electrical engineering department, and now a teaching faculty in the department and director of the Baum Family Makerspace. So I've been involved with it not nearly as long as Linda has. I got in sort of as the construction was just about to start, and has been spending a lot of time working with the construction managers and our staff to try and get the place online and running.
Hi, my name is Eric Johnson. I'm a professor of civil engineering. I've been on the faculty in USC for 22 years now. And for the last 3 years and change, I've been Vice Dean for Academic Programs in the Viterbi School. And I've been working closely with Linda and with Dr. Weber on this project, we're very excited about students being able to come into the space and start using it.
Yes, thank you so much, you guys, for joining me and talking about the Baum Maker Space. I know as myself, I'm on design team, so I'm very excited to eventually go back onto campus and start building some steel bridges. So I know this project has been in the works for a while. So can you guys speak a bit about how this process started and then what kind of looked like?
I'll give you a quick history because I know we don't have much time and I know we want to focus on what we have now, but this project started almost immediately after the dean became the dean back in 2006, and he wanted to create more hands-on space that was in addition to the instructional labs we already have in many departments, in particular to help the student groups, the many student groups, and to augment what we have in terms of instructional hands-on space. So he immediately tasked me with trying to find space for this. Part of my job as the Dean of Administration was space and facilities. We created a small hands-on fab lab, but it was quite small. It was only about 700 square feet. You could maybe get 4 or 5 people in there at one time, and very limited in equipment. And we did that pretty quickly in 2007. And that's what we had until just recently. Then we started a plan, a feasibility study to see what we could get in terms of a larger space. About 7 or 8 years ago, the provost's office started looking at library spaces because libraries are used differently. They asked for proposal on how we would use part of the science and engineering library if we were to get that space. We put in a proposal from the Viterbi school that we would use, and they had a floor essentially available. We would use that floor to create a hands-on maker space. As I said, to augment all of our teams who have extracurricular team activities and really no home to do all of that, and then to help the academic programs as well with overflow space for the capstone design classes, and then just to allow other classes to even exist and have a hands-on capability. We also wanted to support innovation and entrepreneur groups that had really very limited resources for making prototypes. And lastly, kind of the individual undergraduate student who just wants to make something, not for class, not for any other reason than they just want to make something. So we wanted to fill all of those needs. We started visiting other maker spaces around the country. We kind of had an idea of what we wanted. And learned from those, and put through our feasibility study, and we were awarded a floor of the Science and Engineering Library. And Dean Quinlan and the libraries graciously agreed to let that floor be the ground floor because no other floor really worked for us in terms of our needs. And then we started to try to find the money. And the Viterbi advancement team and the dean started pitching this project now that we had a place to put it and we had a plan. And we were very, very lucky that Jim Baum, who's the chair of our board of counselors at the Viterbi School, stepped right up and said that he was interested in being the donor to facilitate this in happening. So that all happened roughly 1.5 years to 2 years ago, which set the ball rolling for us to really get into a true design, blueprints and such, and start the construction project to build the makerspace. And it's basically done and ready. And if we weren't in COVID, it would be open already. But we hope to get some limited availability this spring for student teams to be able to operate in there and then be fully functional for next fall, fingers crossed. So that's kind of a quick background. I hope I'm not talking too fast.
No, yeah, for sure. That sounds really great. It's like a lot of time and effort has been put into this. And I know there's going to be a huge payoff for students because I've already talked to a couple design teams and we're all really excited to eventually get to go in there and start using it. But I wanted to ask, what kind of equipment is offered in the lab?
Well, we have a fully outfitted machine shop with lathes and mills, including some brand new equipment that we did not have in the fab lab. So new CNC milling equipment. We have a new lathe coming in. The area that the students are working in is about 20 workbenches with a collection of hand tools and then other power tools like drill presses and band saws for them to use. The team spaces are for those areas, the teams tend to bring their own equipment, but they're certainly welcome to go into the other areas of the makerspace and use equipment there, or ask to learn how to use the equipment in the machine shop. And then we also have what we call the Advanced Fabrication Lab, which is going to houses right now 2 large 3D printers, and we have plans for several smaller ones to go in there also, along with laser cutters and things like that. So we have a pretty wide variety of things, and as the demands of the teams can make requests for certain things, and if money's available, we might be able to add to it.
And we have it. There is also a water jet printer, I'll add, the LMX water jet. I think it's the biggest water jet on campus that undergrads will have access to. We are in the process of purchasing the paint booth. So teams will be able to paint their pieces. And we have a dynamometer room outside, and they're getting the dynamometer, the Dynapack equipment, so that the various teams that build automobiles, a solar car, electric car, and the SE race car can all test their engines in that space.
That sounds all really amazing. And like, as a student who was only on campus for 7 months before COVID hit, I can tell you I don't have too much experience with a lot of equipment. So are you guys going to have like training in place for students? How is that going to work?
There's going to be a basic level of training for anybody that wants to come into the makerspace and just sit there and work on anything. So this is just sort of an orientation as to, you know, where the fire extinguishers and the exits are located and things like that. Above that, if you want to learn how to use specific tools, we'll be teaching people how to use those. So in some cases, this may be nothing more than a 20-minute introduction to, you know, press this, hold this, twist that. But then as you go up to the more complicated tools like mills and lathes, it could take several weeks of instruction until they get to the point where the machinists feel that it's safe to allow you to use it on your own. So we plan to have a pretty wide range of classes, and depending on what the students want to learn to do, could be things like welding or pretty much anything that would be needed for building their projects. We hope to be able to teach them how to do it, because we really don't have the staff to have every little task that needs to be done by a project team done by our staff. We just don't have enough people. So the students have to do the work themselves. And in a lot of cases for the teams, they're required to do the work by themselves. So we hope to support that as much as we can.
It will be fully staffed. We have 3 full-time staff positions. 2 of them are already in place. They are very skilled experimental machinists that can make just about anything. And then the 3rd position that we're hiring will be able to run all of the 3D printer equipment, as well as probably do some machine work and teach welding. So he or she will be a welder as well. So in addition to that, undergraduate and graduate students will have an opportunity to get jobs in the makerspace and be trained to help augment our staff and to be peer kind of workers with the student groups. So there'll be lots of opportunities. Our website is live now, and it's still a work in progress as Dr. Weber and his team keep adding to it, but there's a lot on there already that explains all the various pieces of equipment and the training classes and so forth, and the layout of the space and what's in what's in each room and that kind of thing.
That sounds great. I want to do all the training, even though I know I probably won't have the time for it. But also, so you said that you have 3 full-time staff. Is that the same amount that was available in the Fab Lab?
The Fab Lab had 1 full-time staff member for many, many years because it was so small. And another staff person would have meant that a student couldn't be in there. When we knew that the Baum Family Makerspace was going to be a reality, we hired the 2nd staff person in the makerspace. He's only been there about 1.5 years, maybe, since he would be helping with the transition. And then the 3rd position is being hired as we speak. It would have been in place already, but when we had to be closed for COVID, we didn't hire a new person just to have to let them go because there was no work. So we just postponed that 3rd position. So we've added staff. We've added 2 full-time staff members to this facility, as well as the cadre.
And I'll also add, we also had with Dr. Weber, we have he's also teaching and a regular faculty member. So this is half of his job is helping with the makerspace. And then we also have about a half-time financial analyst and administrative assistant that's helping with the space as well. And then, as Linda said, our guess is that steady state, once we're back on campus and up and running, we probably will have a cadre of 20, 30, 40 students also helping part-time, each helping part-time. So relative to the 1 staff person in the Fab Lab, we're probably going to the equivalent of, I don't know, what, about 10 or 15 full-time equivalent?
Right. When you include the graduate students and the undergraduate student workers, yes.
Yeah, and I got to see pictures of it. So it looks like there's a lot of room for a lot more staff and a lot more students. And I was wondering too, if do you have to be an engineering student to work in the lab? Do you have to be part of a design team? Like who can go ahead and just go in and start building?
It's open to any Viterbi undergraduate.
Yeah. Plus, if non-Viterbi students are a member of one of the Viterbi recognized student design teams, they're also welcome to work in the space too.
That's right.
Perfect. And I know you guys like mentioned a soft opening for the spring, but I saw an email saying that possibly there'd be a larger opening this fall 2021. If that were to happen, how would you guys put regulations in place just to, regulate how many people are in the space and make sure everything is safe?
Most of the use of the benches and stuff is going to be simply on a first come, first served basis. So there's not going to be a reservation system to just walk in and use a workbench. It's just if it's available, you can come in. The teams have their own space. So how they schedule their time is up to them. We hope to offer hours of maybe like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night for the people to be in there. And that would include the team. So we're not going to be operating 24/7. And part of that's just from safety. We don't think it's really safe for people to be working on projects at 3 in the morning and not getting any sleep. And so then we hope to have, maybe not all semester long, but at some point we may offer weekend hours when there gets to be more of a crunch time for the teams to work on things. So it will not be open to students to just, give us your USC card and you can walk in on your own. There has to be a staff person there. And so that could be staffed by any of those 3 full-time staff that we're talking about, but also graduate students that we hire can be there to handle the staffing also.
And as far as fall, we don't have any guidelines yet from the county on what restrictions they may have on us still in the fall. But we can accommodate a whole variety of things, everything from a full reopening with no social distancing requirements to something closer to what we have now, right? If we need to, the workbenches are already spaced out a fair amount. And so if we limit the number of people sitting at a particular bench, we can still maintain 6-foot distancing and so forth. At this point, we can't give a solid answer of what that's going to look like for the fall. We'll see in a couple of months.
Yeah. There's about 10, the space is about 10,000 square feet. 2,000 of it are 2 outdoor areas, two large outdoor areas where work tables could be moved and people can work. And in fact, if we're allowed to do any in-person things this spring, that's where that activity will take place, is in these outdoor work areas. Then we have the large workshop in the middle, the machine shop, the advanced fabrication shop, a wet lab with a fume hood. So there's a lot of different spaces available, as well as the team spaces where the teams can come into the workshop or the machine shop to cut apart or make the material, but they could go back into their team spaces. I think for Dr. Weber, the first year will be the most challenging because we don't really know exactly what to expect. We're going from a very small facility to something that's much larger, and we're bringing so many of the design teams together in one location, plus trying to accommodate all these other needs that we've talked about, overflow for capstone design and the entrepreneur and innovation teams. So I think it'll probably be, a semester or 2, a full academic year probably, of running it to try to see what the flow is like. When is the activity happening? We do plan to support some classes, so there might be times when the workshop is being used by a class, for instance, and isn't available to student teams. And then the other thing that I should have mentioned earlier, but I think is a really cool idea, is that we will be able to support K through 12 STEM activities in the summer when most of the undergraduates are not on campus and won't be using the makerspace. So it won't sit idle all summer long. It will be, I think, used for hands-on K-12 activity as well during that period. But it'll probably take a cycle or 2 to kind of get our bearings and really understand what the flow is like.
Yeah, I really think giving access to the makerspace K through 12 students could really get them interested in engineering. Something I know as a student before I came to USC, I kind of didn't really know what engineering meant, what went into it. So I think just experiencing that early on will really broaden everyone's understanding of it as well.
Certainly.
Yeah, and for the students, if the student workers who do stay around would be helping with those activities, because they'd still be active. They could have their jobs in the summer in the makerspace to be able to help those activities going on as well.
And you said that the makerspace is at the engineering library. Is the library portion of that still available? Are there still study spaces?
Yes. The library just moved upstairs. So the library is now on the 2nd and 3rd floors. The 2nd floor is where the circulation desk is and whatever remains of the stacks. So what the library did is they inventoried all of their science and engineering books and other paraphernalia, because they have all kinds of things, maps and other kinds of data. And they looked at what was used the most or not easily archivable. And they kept that on the premises. And then the rest of it is in that 24-hour turnaround. So you can still get all the items. It's just gone into their longer term storage across the freeway. And then upstairs on the third floor, it's mostly study space. So they've relaid out all the furniture up there to be mostly study. The second floor has got the stacks, as I said, the circulation desk. Their old classroom is back there. They have their teaching classroom. And then several small group meeting rooms that were similar to how it used to be set up on the ground floor when people could use the classroom when it wasn't in use. The classroom that used to be on the ground floor, I think it was 101, SSL 101, is now relocated to the second floor as well. The library and the classroom have been operational since last fall. So fall of 2019, they could have offered classes in there.
Okay, cool. That's amazing. So I can still go read a book if I'm ever
Absolutely.
in the makerspace.
And then there's room to study, and probably better laid out room to study than there used to be when all those stacks of magazines and research manuals and things were there that nobody was really using. So all of that's gone now.
Yeah, it sounds like this makerspace is really going to reinvent engineering at USC. It's like it's adding so many opportunities, so much space, and like a creative outlet for all these students. And I kind of want everyone to answer this question. I would just like to know, like, what do you guys think this means for USC? Like, how do you think this will change the way the design teams work and change the way this Viterbi operates?
Well, I can start. As I think back to my engineering training, some of my hands-on training was as a kid on my grandfather's farm and learning how to work with tools and machinery and take things apart and put things together and so forth. And then as an undergraduate, I was fortunate enough to have an internship between my sophomore and junior years at a helicopter factory, where I got to do a little bit of everything. And it really gave me the hands-on experience that complemented my classroom book learning extremely well. This is an opportunity to do that within the USC campus, to give our students a lot of opportunities to do hands-on work that complements and gives them experience to apply the theory that they've developed and learned in the classroom.
Yeah, I see it from a perspective also as someone who teaches senior level capstone classes, that over the last 10 years, the one thing I've seen, or the one trend I've seen, is that fewer and fewer students have any experience using tools. And a lot of this is because high schools have gotten rid of what in my generation we called shop classes, or like metal shop and wood shop and stuff. And so I see students coming in that really don't even know how to use a hand drill or anything. It makes it hard on a capstone class. And so we're hoping that, as we bring our students in, perhaps the freshman academy groups can all use this for a short period. And so we would then be able to know that all of our students, by the time they're finished with their freshman year, they know how to put a drill or tighten a drill bit into a drill, how they need to use a screwdriver or a hammer and saws and simple tools. And for us, I think that really fills in a hole in a lot of their education. But I think a lot of them will also find out how much fun it can be to know how to do that. So the students that do tend to learn how to use that tend to always look back and say that was really a lot of fun to be able to experience that. And we're hoping to extend that.
And that's part of what I find so exciting about this, is that every student will get at least some basic training, whether they're in computer science, where they might never have to touch or make anything, or electrical engineering systems, where they're maybe in a theoretical field, to the ones that are more hands-on. And then also from my perspective for the student teams, some of whom, a very small number of whom, had dedicated space, but many of them have been vagabonds over the years, literally. Sometimes some of them existed in students' apartments or in a parent's garage that was local, and then they'd come to us needing space, and we were just scrambling to try to find any kind of possible space. Your team has probably been moved 3 times in the last 3 or 4 years, just because that we have so many competing needs for space. We hire so many faculty and they need research space, and that meant that some of these extracurricular teams were just packing up and moving and packing up and moving. Now what we have is a steady, established home. Here and then across the street, what we're calling kind of the Makerspace Annex, where a few more teams will be right across the street. also falling under the watchful eye of the Baum Family Makerspace staffing. And that they don't need to do that anymore. They don't need to worry about where they're going to build their part or make their equipment the next year. I mean, they have a place, they have a home to call their own. And I think that's going to be huge for a lot of these teams, especially the ones that didn't have steady space. There were a lucky few that did, but there were quite a few that really didn't. And this is a game changer for those teams.
Yeah, I think something I'm most looking forward to going back is also just the social aspect, like being able to swap ideas with other design teams and meeting new people who are very passionate about hands-on learning. I think that's something I'm super excited about. And to wrap it up, my final question, more logistical, is so I'm assuming I can't just walk in and be like, hey, I want some training. What's the formal process for signing up for that? As well as if I were a high school student, I was listening to this podcast and I was like, hey, I think my design team would love to go over there in the summer. How would I go about signing us up to use it?
Well, for an individual, you pretty much hit it. You just walk in and say, I want to be trained to use the place. And so, I mean, obviously we'd have some scheduling issues. If 25 people all showed up at once, you might have to, make a reservation system. But if you're a Viterbi undergraduate, you're welcome to come by, and then it's up to you as to how much time you want to spend. Obviously, there's issues of if 25 people all want to learn to use a mill at the same time, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but we'd like to welcome everybody in, and that's pretty much it. For student teams, they first have to be recognized as a valid Viterbi team. There's a process they go through for that. We have about 7 teams that have been allocated space in the makerspace right now, including your team. The priority on that goes to teams that actually build things, because we have some teams that they really don't build too much. They're more of a paper design sort of a thing. And again, we'll be reviewing every year who gets the space. And so if there's some teams that have sort of fallen by the wayside and they're not doing very much, we may have to ask them to leave, because we've got another team that's very energetic and comes in and they want to use the space. So one thing that's going to strike everybody, I think, when they go over there is that despite the fact it's 10,000 square feet, it's still rather small. And so the teams do not have as much space as they would like, but it's better than what they had before. And it's going to help them a lot as they go along and attract members to be able to use that. I mean, I think the area that for your Steel Bridge team, I've been to the basement of Olin Hall where the Steel Bridge team was located, and it was not exactly the most wonderful place to work. And I think the place you have now, they may have a little bit less space, but there's windows, there's a big garage door you can open up on a day like today and just walk out into the sunshine. And so it's a substantially more pleasant work environment for the teams.
And I do think it will go to the point where they'll be able to sign online, going to the website. We're working on it now. There'll be some sort of a calendar arrangement where you can see what training classes are offered when and sign up. And so we're trying to hammer all of that out now. Until we have that done, it probably will be just people walking in. But by next fall, certainly, I think we will have a more formalized system up where you can look on the website. If you've taken the basic training already, there's a way to. If you haven't, there's a way to sign up for that. If we get it incorporated into freshman academies, we know that we'll be training all of the first year students through that process, and that helps them. And then we have everyone else who needs to be trained. So there'll be some sort of a calendar system where they can sign up for training, and we'll offer it at all different times, not just when students are in classes, obviously, but all different times, and make sure that there's ways that they can get trained for this. The idea is during daytime hours, probably like 9 or 10 a.m. all the way through till 7 p.m. or later, whenever the staff are there, that any undergraduate Viterbi student, it's card swipe. They can swipe their ID card and get in if they're enrolled. And then those doors are locked after hours and they can't get in, unless there's staff members there. The design teams may have access after hours into their design spaces, because every room in there can be card key access. So we're still working out some of these logistics, as we mentioned. The staff, I think, will work with everyone to try to come up with what the optimal system is. But yeah, it'll be pretty accessible during regular hours. And then once trained, other rooms become accessible.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the insight. I think this clears up a lot of logistical questions I had. Actually, this is just me talking for Steel Bridge. I just wanted to know. I came up with this whole podcast idea just for this. But yeah, thank you so much. Are there any final thoughts that you guys would like to add?
I can show you a picture of the Steel Bridge area if you'd like.
Actually, I get to go there in 2 weeks. So we have to clear out Cap Basement. And we have to move everything over to the Baum Maker Space. So I'll get to see it. That's exciting.
I think I would just encourage students to give us feedback. This is a new facility for us. And while we've learned a lot by going to other places and picking their brains and looking at their websites, we want this facility to suit our students really well. So as the students start using it, first of all, I hope they'll have some patience because we are launching a brand new facility and may not have everything exactly the way it should be because we'll be learning, but that they give good feedback to us, to Dr. Weber and the staff. And then where it's feasible, that feedback can be incorporated into how the Makerspace it operates and runs. And so I hope it'll be a really collaborative process as it's launched. I mean, I say that leaving, but I think that Dr. Weber and Dr. Johnson feel the same way. This is a brand new endeavor for the school, and it's not like any other space we've run before. So it's not going to operate the same way an instructional lab does, and we know how to do that. This is new, and so I think we can all learn from each other as we open this.
We're very excited about the opportunity that this gives to the students, and looking forward to working with you and the other design teams at making this even better. And I do want to leave with, again, a shout out to Mr. Baum and his family for their generous gift that has helped make this possible.
Absolutely. And all you students listening, go watch the video. There's a great video on the Viterbi website about the Baum Family Makerspace for the ribbon cutting that where you can see Mr. Baum speaking. It's a great video. And you get to see the Makerspace.
Yeah, and as a student, I would also like to thank Mr. Baum and his family. I enjoyed watching that video, so I encourage all listeners to watch that as well. Well, Linda, Dr. Weber, Professor Johnson, thank you so much for taking time to share with me and share with everyone listening about the Baum Makerspace. I'm sure you'll have crowds of students wanting to learn and get trained on everything.
We sure hope so.
Thank you.
And we should maybe leave with the URL. The URL for the Makerspace is BFMS. That's Baum Family Makerspace.usc.edu.
Perfect. Thank you
That's
for that.
great. Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks, Natalie.
Again, all your listeners, better go visit that Baum Makerspace, watch that video, go to the URL, do all that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for bringing this on. I think it's super exciting. And I think it's fun, too, to sort of do a podcast about a new building. I know we think of it as something visual, but I know it's fun to hear about these things, too.
What are you most excited about with this space, Natalie, specifically for your team in Steel Bridge?
I think this is just going to be an amazing time just because we have somewhere we can call home, which I didn't think our team was able to last year. It was just kind of like, let's meet outside of Watt Hall or let's meet in this garage. And then that was just kind of how we operated. But now we get to go somewhere where all of our supplies will be there and we know the team will be there. And also we can collaborate with anyone else too. Like I'm sure I'm going to run into like a design team from other engineering fields, and then we can swap ideas. And it's just cool being able to have a place where you can like mingle with like-minded people and create something tangible.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot space. Like I think everyone's going to be there. I think so much of the things that are going to be cool about it are going to be the not planned elements, right? The fact that you're going to be crossing paths with Aero Design Team or Rocket Lab or the SE formula car, the electric car, and you never know what things you might learn from one another, ideas you pass. It's going to be super, super cool. And I imagine that squeaky clean video that we saw of that space is going to get pretty filthy, pretty dirty, pretty quick.
Such as engineering.
Absolutely. All right. Any other thoughts you guys have before we wrap this thing up for today?
No, I'm super excited about this space, though. I'm going to make a public plea that alumni are allowed in this space because I'm bummed that I won't get to use it. But like, it actually looks really incredible. The 3D
it shows up just at the end. Shows up just at the end, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry, Audrey. I'll sneak you in.
This is the ongoing thing, right? When there's new advancements, new developments, new buildings,
Yeah.
alumni are always saying, or graduates are always saying, basically, like, "Oh, why didn't they have that when I was there?" I'm like, this just happens. Like, I don't know how many times you guys know this, but how many times I hear about, "Oh, I wish Tudor Hall was there when I was there," and it's like it's been there since '05, or I wish the campus center was there when I was there. Like, you guys don't realize how much you actually have had. It's one of those things where, like, now that rite of passage of like, oh man, I wish I had what these kids have now.
Totally. Yeah.
All right, Natalie, thanks so much for the episode, and for everyone out there, hang in there, stay safe. We will see you again with a new episode next week.